Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and today we're going to be continuing our Combine preview by going to the defensive side of the ball. We got 15 players we're going to go through, 5 different positions. There's a lot of guys here that we're going to talk about that could really change their draft stock, change some of the perspectives about them, or, unfortunately could end up having bad performances and really dropping down the board. So we're going to get into that. We're going to work our way from the defensive line back to the secondary, and we're going to start with the interior. First guy I talk about, and he had to make this list. I think between him, Christian Boyd, and Byron Murphy, I'm talking about, those two guys probably stand out the absolute most on the interior defensive line to me. As far as guys I want to watch closely, guys that can change their projection. But I went with Christian Boyd. And the reason why I chose Christian Boyd as the top guy was because he is a newer watch for me. His film looked really good, but I have no clue what the measurables are. It's only the things we've been told by the school, and it really doesn't confirm a whole lot. And you don't have anything else to really go off of because he does come from a smaller school. So this is a guy who's been overlooked, not talked about a lot, all because he didn't go out to the Senior Bowl or any of that. He's from a smaller school. We do not know yet what we're really looking at with him. So I'm really excited to get to watch him at the Combine. I'm going to definitely have to pay close attention to the measurables to start. See if there's any questions. Because when I originally did my scouting report on him or added him to my big board, I just had a hard time finding problems. It doesn't mean he's a perfect prospect. I think he's pretty good at most things, but it was hard to find flaws. And so he's one I'm going to have to revisit, and the Combine is going to have a huge factor because it's going to shed some light on a lot of things that we just don't know right now. So he's the first guy I want to mention. Byron Murphy is the second guy I'm going to mention. And he will probably be the guy who stands out the most from the interior defensive line. Right now, Byron Murphy is challenging, if not overtaking, Johnny Newton as the first defensive tackle in this class. I just recently put Murphy above him. I had to go revisit him, re-rank him, because it felt like there were some things I was missing. He was pretty low on him. Usually when I hear people talking up prospects way higher than when I have them, I have to at least go revisit and see if there's something wrong. And, you see it with Byron Murphy. This guy, the leverage that he plays with is out of this world. It is crazy to watch. You can see plays like he should just be put straight down the ground. He's almost horizontal in the way he's playing, but he can stay up. He just has ridiculous strength. It was the deadlift. He put up 455 pounds. And apparently he could have gone to 500 if he kept going, but his coach shut him down. So you have a really good athlete, a really tough guy, really strong guy. The Combine is built for a player like Byron Murphy to shoot up the board because it's going to fit his skill set and the things he does so well, and he has the film to back it up. So I'm really excited to watch him. I think he's going to definitely do a lot for his draft stock. Now our next guy, Leonard Taylor. He'll be the final guy I mentioned from the interior of the defensive line. For some reason, he's fallen a lot down boards recently. I think some of it is just because you get to finally watch players that you really didn't hear about, you didn't know about, and you see a lot of good things from them. And so a player like Leonard Taylor, who really didn't break out his final year, he still has great tools to work with, a lot there. He falls down the board naturally. And it's fair and unfair. I get why it happens, but I think he is very much being overlooked right now. And so it's going to be interesting to watch him at the Combine because he's a guy with tremendous traits. He's going to probably have a very good week. It's a good opportunity for him to go back up the board. So Leonard Taylor, keep your eyes on him. He's probably going to have a good week. Probably going to start being considered back early in the second round, I would think, by the end of the week, if not just at least in the second round. I've seen some drafts where he's falling into the third and fourth, and it's just hard to believe. I don't think he's that bad of a player. So That's our interior defensive line guys to watch. We're going to go next to our edge guys. So this could be defensive ends, outside linebackers, just going to call them edge. Darius Robinson, are you shocked he's at the top of this list? No, he shouldn't be. He's probably going to be the guy who's the face of the combine this year. You look at his length, you look at some of these just traits he has as a player. You know, he has a larger wingspan than Trayvon Walker. And Trayvon Walker went first overall because of all the things he did at the combine, not just that, but that was one of the big things to put in. So I think Darius Robinson is going to stand out for those parts of his game. I think he's going to test out really well. I think he's going to be fast. I think he's going to be strong. I think he shows all those things on film. And now people are going to start putting it together. And we're going to get to the point, and we felt like we were going to get here probably about half a month ago when we saw the Senior Bowl, to where Darius Robinson is not just a first-round pick, but now he's going to enter the conversation of probably being a top 15 guy. Because all you need is one team to take the chance. And with the film he has being good, the crazy athletic and physical traits, all of that is going to be too much, I think, for teams to pass on him early in the draft. And he's going to go somewhere. It could even be Jacksonville, for all we know. So he's got to be a guy you keep your eyes on this week. Now, Laiatu Latu, I'm going to be watching him for the same reasons I'm watching Michael Penix. I want to hear about the injuries. I want to hear about what they're saying. Our team's going to be high, team's going to be low. That's one of the things that, like, as a scout, we just don't know how to rank players sometimes because we don't know if these injuries are going to have an impact at the NFL level or not. And we're going to try to hear what we can. We won't hear everything, but that is something I'm going to pay attention to. And then Chop Robinson, final guy here. I think he's going to blow teams away with drills like, the 3-cone drill, the 40-yard dash. He's got ridiculous get-off the line of scrimmage. That's the thing that stands out about him so much. The bend. I mean, he's going to blow people out of the water in those ways. I mean, he might be a guy who does a really good vertical as well. And so he's going to show all of these traits off to NFL GMs, scouts, head coaches, and probably solidify himself as a first-round draft pick at the end of the day, whether or not you think he should go there. Because I do have some concerns about him. Probably the most damning thing I heard, and I think this was off of the NFL Stock Exchange channel. Great channel to watch, by the way. If you don't watch them already, do it for yourself. It's worth going to watch them. They have a lot of great draft content. Definitely one I watch every time they put out something. But they said about Chop Robinson that the only games where he had a sack this year were against blockers that graded below 60. And what that means is those are blockers who consistently were playing bad. They were not good. 60 is kind of your average grade on PFF. So when you're below that, it's usually a bad thing. And some players get a bad rap, that happens. But when it's every single one of them that you have any production against, there's a lot of questions for Chop Robinson because of that. And I think what he'll do at the combine will help him overcome that. So that is your defensive line talk. Now we're going to get to linebacker. First guy I got to talk about has to be Edgerrin Cooper. There's no way I can ignore this. For me, he is the top linebacker in this class, and really the only big question I have about him is size. It's not about length. It's about the weight he has on him. How much strength does he have? He's supposed to be 230. If he can come in maybe a little heavier than that, that would be nice to see. Still want to see him do well, obviously, with 40-yard dash, 3-cone drill, all these things. But he's a phenomenal prospect who could be really good at the NFL level, and also one I think will be watched close by Jacksonville, because this linebacker class will probably not get selected from until around middle of the second round. And at that point, that's where Jacksonville picks. And Trent Baalke, he loves his linebackers a little too much, actually, I'd probably say. But Edgerrin Cooper is probably going to be really enticing for how he fits Ryan Nielsen's scheme. how Trent Baalke looks at the position, how valuable he thinks it is, this could be the pick. That is very possible. So keep your eyes on Edgerrin Cooper. Let's see if maybe he's a little more complete going into the combine through the things we see. Peyton Wilson is the next one to talk about. He could be challenging for linebacker one if it wasn't for the injuries. So I want to see what teams hear about him, maybe some of the rumors we see. Is this something that's going to impact him positively or negatively from where he is right now with factors and injuries kind of weighed in? This Junior Colson is the last one. The main thing I want to see there is like what is his actual size, because he's supposed to be 247 pounds, and I do not believe that. I watched him on film. He does not look that size. He looks like a smaller guy. So I want to see where he lands, because that could really move him on my big board, up or down depending on what happens. So definitely guys I'm watching, but linebacker is not going to be like a huge position for me this year, because I'm really just looking at guys like Edgerrin Cooper, that could be like best of the class. You get a good value, and the Jaguars could pick them. The other guys, I don't know as much. I don't think it's a strong class, but you got a really good top there with him. So let's get to a really interesting position here. Cornerback. And if I could put two names there, I just would have. It's probably a little too long to go on the screen. But Terrion Arnold and Nate Wiggins are going to be the top guys to talk about for me. I got to see Quinyon Mitchell already. I haven't seen Kool-Aid, of course, but I don't think Kool-Aid's the top guy in this class right now. He could end up being that. I just don't have him at the very top. I think he's close, but I don't see him being cornerback one for me. It's really a battle of Terrion Arnold's ridiculous athleticism against Nate Wiggins, who is larger than him, like taller guy, is a little more lanky, but just ridiculous length and great fluidity, good athleticism. I want to see how these two guys stack up, because they're very different players in what they offer. Terrion Arnold is like an all-around cornerback. He's going to play slot. He's going to play outside. He can play man. He can play zone. He can do all of that. Nate Wiggins is a more specialized player, but he's built so well for it. He's 6'2". He's got crazy arm length. We're going to see that this next week. He plays outside, and he plays man coverage. And that is a need for Jacksonville past this next year, if not this year, depending on what you do with a guy like Darius Williams, which we talked about before. Maybe they go pick a guy like Nate Wiggins and trade Darius after the draft. That's possible. So these two guys are right now both CB1 for me. It's hard to really rank one above the other at the moment. I want to see how they do at the combine and learn some things I don't know. Not that the combine should decide everything, but it tells us some things that we did not know before. And those are factors in our evaluations. We just got to understand how important it is or how not important it is. And then finally, Ennis Rakestraw. I'm going to watch him really close. He's one of the best players behind the top four. I think he is the best player behind them. And he's a guy who's built for Jacksonville's system, playing outside. Like, he's a press corner. That's something you're looking for, something you're going to need to invest in. We're going to see where he falls. I think he's just a late round one, early round two guy, personally. But he's got a lot to work with physically to go up the board and to maybe even put himself into the conversation with the top four guys. So I'm going to watch him, because I think this could be another guy entering that conversation that maybe didn't do like tons and tons of amazing stuff on the field, but you see why he could be so good at the next level. So Rakestraw is very much going to be one I have my eyes on this week as well. Now, final position. Talk about safety. I don't know if Jacksonville really goes this way. We'll see. Just because Antonio Johnson is probably going to be their starting safety to take over for Rayshon. You got Andre Sisco. Doesn't make a ton of sense unless you're getting like best of the best, right? Or you're picking late in the draft. But Tyler Nubin is best of the best. This guy, like, when I look at him, I think of Andre Sisco playing strong safety. Better build to do it overall. He is a huge hitter. He's a big-time playmaker. He's all those things that you take your bets on at safety going into the draft. You want to get those guys, they take risks, right? They make big plays. They might have some misses, but you can work with that. And eventually they're going to refine that to the point where they do make the big plays, but they're not giving up the big ones as much either. So Tyler Nubin's one of those guys, but I want to see good athleticism from him. I want to see him run well. I want to see the fluidity. If he does all that, I feel really good about him as a prospect. And I already do regardless. I think he's top guy in the class. And Cameron Kitchens is the other one. We'll talk about him in a second. But those guys, really good safeties here. Now, Jaden Hicks, kind of looking for the same thing. I don't think he's as complete of a prospect, but the big question as far as like the physical side of things, athleticism, it's can he run fast? Is he fluid? All those things. That was stuff that I didn't really like on film. Now, he has really good size. Like, all those things are really good for him. It's just how he uses it on the field. Those are my questions about it. And is he going to be a good athlete? Now, finally, Cameron Kitchens. He's started to fall down the board recently, even to the point where he's like a third-round guy now, which I would very possibly take the bet on him, even if I'm Jacksonville with all these safeties I can use. Kitchens is really good athletically, fantastic traits. He's a little short. I think he's just shy of 6 foot, like not even an inch shy. So that isn't great, but he could be a guy who steals the show, puts himself back in contention among these top safeties. So he's the guy I'm going to watch. I think he would be a pretty good prospect to look at. Probably more of a free safety because of that size, because of the way he moves around. He'd be really good in the backfield, just sprinting around. So those are my thoughts on guys to watch from the defensive side of the ball. A lot of exciting ones. I think probably the biggest ones for me are going to be Darius Robinson, Christian Boyd, Edgerrin Cooper, and then Arnold Wiggins. Those are the big ones. Because those are all prospects that could come to Jacksonville. It's very possible. But this is going to help separate some of these guys. See how good they are. Like, I don't know what the top of the linebacker class is right now. I know Edgerrin Cooper's the guy. I don't know where to put him, though. I don't know if I take him over certain prospects, like a Chris Jenkins. Like, I've had a hard time with that recently. So this will be the nice final determining factor in where players are going to go on my big board. I can do my final evaluations. I'm excited to do that. But as far as what we're going to put out, once the combine kicks off, we'll do our reviews each day. I'll put out a video for those. Following, we've got free agency coming up shortly. I'm going to start working on my big board. After free agency starts, we're going to go through rankings at draft positions, start talking about the top prospects. So really excited to get into that. But that's all I've got for you guys today. I thank you for coming to this channel, watching this content. It's much appreciated. I enjoy making it. It's the only reason I do it. So hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your week. And finally, go Jags.